she won't have to see herself, but it'll still you just desktop it. But that should work.
Yeah, you can't really.
Is it recording?
It's recording, yeah.
All right, I'm ready whenever you're. And so Chelsea and Jeremy are giving Katie feedback.
My father was born Richard Paul Bendel on February 27, 1965, in Randburg, Johannesburg, South Africa. He is semi-fluent in Afrikaans, and the only time I ever hear it is when he is speaking to my grandma and doesn't want me to know what they are saying. As a young kid, upon telling people where my dad was from, they would often ask, "Oh, is your dad black?" No, he's not. But my dad's identity, how amazing he is as both a person and a father, is so much more than his race, which you could probably guess because of my appearance is white. My dad is an immigrant. In 1980, my grandparents brought my dad, then 15, and my two aunts to the U.S. from South Africa. My dad has always reminded us of our South African heritage. His love for the Springbok South African rugby team and the African decorations in our living room are a constant reminder of our history. Though my dad holds on to his roots, if you were to ask him how he identifies himself, the response always is, "I am an American." This response has always been inspirational to me. My dad, though an immigrant, has come to fall in love with this country and is perhaps the most patriotic person I know. My dad has taught me the important value of being an American, of loving my country, and yet still holding on to our heritage, a value that I will forever hold dear. My dad is tall. If you were to meet my dad, you might be intimidated by his 6'8" stature. I'm sure he's avoided a lot of conflict because of how big he is. As a little girl, I always felt safe and secure because I knew he could beat up any bad guy that might try to hurt my younger sisters or me. He could break my arm in half, easily. But one of the best things about my dad is that he is one of the most docile, friendly, soft-hearted people I know. He couldn't hurt a fly, and he has never laid a hand on me. So don't let his height fool you. He's really the nicest guy. Whenever we go out in public, I'm always so struck with how friendly my dad is with everyone. He's always smiling and cracking jokes with everyone, even strangers. Though he is tall and perhaps intimidating to some initially, his face only shows the utmost kindness, compassion, and happiness. I struggled with depression during my early teens and often felt insecure about my height, as I am a tall girl. My dad would come in my room as I cried late at night and would tell me how much I remind him of himself. He would tell me I'm beautiful and to be happy and sure of myself even when I had bad days. You have to smile even when you don't feel like smiling, he would say. If anyone has given me good advice, it's been my dad. Even now when I feel some insecurity about how tall I am, or if I'm having a bad day for any reason, I remember what he told me and I smile. My dad's positive outlook on life has caused me to rethink bad situations and be more optimistic about all I encounter. My dad is a storyteller. He loves to tell people about experiences he has had or stories he has heard. He is a big music lover, and he always seems to find the story in any song we're listening to. Often he will tell the same stories multiple times, like his infamous Taco Bell story when he was in Compton during the LA riots and he saw them rebuild a Taco Bell in 3 days. I can't tell you how many times I've heard that one. But when you see the light in my dad's eyes brighten when he recalls a story, or even as he listens to a story, it's both fascinating and educational. Author Philip Pullman says, "After nourishment, shelter, and companionship, stories are the things we need most in the world." My dad has used stories to teach me about everything from politics to history to pop culture, and so much more. My dad's stories have given me both a respect for his knowledge and authority, but also a perspective on the world that was molded by them. My dad is hilarious. To know my dad is to know a comedian. He loves to joke around, tease, do impersonations and silly voices. One of his favorite jokes is a rumored exchange between Winston Churchill and Lady Nancy Astor. He'll always begin it with a big grin on his face. "Winston, if I were your wife, I would put poison in your coffee," said Lady Astor. "Nancy," Churchill replied, "if I was your husband, I would drink it." He cracks up every time, and it never fails to put a smile on my face, even though he's told it 1,000 times. His laugh is contagious, and hearing him laugh always makes me want to laugh. I'll never forget the time my dad danced around the kitchen with a piece of bologna on his face. I'm not kidding. I have a video of this. Or the time he literally tried to blackmail me into eating Marmite, a disgusting South African spread he knows I hate. Or that time during the Super Bowl when his friend remarked about how there was a Giants hat by the TV, but nothing to represent the Patriots, whom she is a fan of. So my dad went into the kitchen and he took a can of New England clam chowder and he put it opposite the hat. Point is, my dad can make a joke out of anything. He makes everything more fun and he's always got everyone laughing. My sisters and I have always been very silly, funny sorts of people, due in large part to how humorous our dad is. When I go home, I'm always laughing because my family spends most of their time joking around. My dad always manages to keep laughing even through the most difficult, trying of times. I look to that and it both dumbfounds and inspires me to mirror that because sometimes it seems to me that there is no reason to laugh. I think my dad's sense of humor is one of my favorite things about him. My dad is a godly man. Psalm 37:23-24 says, "The Lord directs the steps of the godly. He delights in every detail of their lives. Though they stumble, they will never fall, for the Lord holds them by the hand." Throughout my life, my dad has done more for me, my sisters, and for so many others than I could begin to describe. Though my parents are divorced, and my mother can be very difficult, my dad still extends the utmost kindness and grace towards her. It awes me. His heart is so big. I did not deserve to come here to Biola. I have never been a great student. I've never in my life had perfect grades, and I've struggled with ADD, time management, and motivation. In high school, I knew I was in trouble with my grades when my dad would start wagging his finger at me. I do not fear my dad's size, but whenever he did that, I became extremely aware of how big he is and his authority over my life. I'm happy to say that I haven't seen the finger wagging in a while. But in those finger wagging situations, he tried to make me understand the importance of academics. I never took it seriously, and I have disappointed him many times. Now at Biola, I understand for the first time in my life what he had been trying to teach me. I have worked harder in school than I ever have, and my goal is no longer to try to do well, it is to do well and accept nothing less than straight A's. Attending Biola has hit him hard, and he gave up much of what he has despite all that I had done in the past. He saw my love for Christ and for the school, and he knew that this was where I belonged, and so he did literally everything he could and more so that I could attend here. Though he is not a very religious man, he is the godliest man I know. Daddy, I want to make you proud because I am so grateful for your immense sacrifices on my part. I want you to know that always. In conclusion, my dad is a fantastic, incredible father that words could not describe, not fully describe. A few weeks ago, while in my communication theory class, Dr. Mulop asked us to write down the 4 most influential people that have shaped our thinking. Besides Jesus, of course. I pondered this for a few moments. Of course that list had to include Aaron, my mentor who helped bring me to Christ, and also Dr. William Lane Craig, a Christian apologist I greatly admire. My boyfriend Basil made it as well, for so many reasons I could not begin to touch upon. But at the top of the list I wrote, my dad. My dad has taught me most everything I know. Being around him has shaped me in many ways to be the person I am now. Ever since I can remember, but mostly when I was a little kid, my dad and I had a special way of saying goodnight to each other. It went something like this. Good night, sleep tight, don't let the bedbugs bite, then we tickle each other. I love you, I'll see you in the morning, sweet dreams moon, sweet dreams star. It's been a special bond I've always had with him, and whenever we see it now, even at almost 21 years old, I am reminded of our bond and how blessed I am to have such an amazing, strong, godly father like him. I love you, Daddy.
Thank you very much. So what did Katie do well?